just finished my playthrough on the Wrath of Cortex, and it's tradition for me to make an honest reviews on the game I've just finished. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be doing honest reviews on the Wrath of Cortex, but I may need a little assistance for... That's right, I have no friends and no one would want to collab with me, so let's just take... So, everyone, this is going to be a solo video. I told you, I guess. I don't know. It's a bad intro, let's just keep going. But anyways, let's everyone grab our Rare Crash Bandicoot The Wrath of Cortex plushies. How you doing, old fella? You still looking in very good condition? Do you smell good? Yeah? As today we are going to tackle a very controversial title in the Crash Bandicoot franchise. So a few of you may already know what that is, so I'm not going to prevent the inevitable anymore and show you what the game is. If you've already guessed it, then thumbs up to you, but today we are going to be tackling with with ourselves. Today we are going to be tackling... That looks awful, let me try that again. So today we are going to be tackling what is known as one of the worst entries in the Crash Bandicoot franchise by many people, but in my opinion, it's the best. The Wrath of Cortex. Now, we're not going to be tackling the GameCube version. This version's shit. We're going to be looking at the Xbox version of the game. Now, I would show PS2, but I don't have a PS2 with me at the minute because it's in the attic, and I don't want to get it out. Just do a review on the Wrath of Cortex. And this is the version that was closest to me on my shelf because I've packed my Xbox away back into my cupboard over there. That way it's there. I'm pointing at it, you can't see it though. So I've put it back in there with the game. So I just decided to grab this off my shelf because my GameCube games are on my shelf. So yeah. Wrath of Cortex, everyone, enjoy. So the best way I thought about doing this video is to, you know, I don't know how you describe it, to play through the game and describe every level as we go along and the quality and how good it is and the music and whatnot. So that's what we're going to be doing. So it's a different type of honest reviews, I guess, but he approves. I guess he's a plushie. He can't really talk or move without my input. So yeah, this is awkward enough as an intro because I had no idea what I was saying. I've just gone off this completely blind. So let's roll on with the video. Let's talk about Arctic Antics. But first, we got an intro cutscene to talk about. Let's talk about that. So I feel the best way to start this honest reviews is to talk about this intro cutscene. So if I had to sum it up in brief, it's essentially all the old villains from all the old games bitching about how they can't beat Crash. It's a very lame concept, I'll be honest, but the execution is somewhat decent. I can watch it simply due to nostalgia, but that's probably it. I mean, let's just look at this fucking model for Cortex. It looks pretty atrocious considering the graphical leap. And Tiny Tiger looks like a fucking circus clown. What the hell happened to Tiny? Uka Uka looks a little bit less threatening, but I don't know if it's nostalgia talking, but I like this model a lot more than Uka Uka. But this is a lot of wasted potential going into this one cutscene, and it's 8 minutes long. Oh boy. We're off to a great start here, aren't we? Now, I'll be honest, the start of this game is not the best thing I've ever seen. It's not presented very good. I mean, the music's, you know, it goes with the situation pretty well, as, you know. We get to hear the voice actors reprise their role, Uka Uka and being Clancy Brown, as well as Cortex again. That's nice to hear. But other than that, this is where we're giving a slight, you know, spoiler to the story of this game. But after this, we fast forward to Crash and Coco with Aku landed on the beach, and yeah. So while these guys are clowning around, this happens.
What's happening? No, it cannot be. Oh, no.
What's going on? Oh no! Crash! Look out!
natural disasters hit. Now, we get an explanation for this in roughly a minute and 30 seconds, but it's a bit of a lazy plot point, I'll admit, but at the same time, I'm alright with it. I'm okay with this plot point, I'm okay with the plot in general. I don't think it's lazy or anything, because we do get a notable voice cast for the elementals, but the conversation between these two is interesting. Just listen.
What kind of diabolical scheme do you and Dr. Cortex have planned this time?
No schemes, just some old familiar faces dropping by for a visit.
Akwaku doesn't sound too concerned though.
No, not the elementals. Uka, why did you release them? Don't you know what happened the last time they were free?
Considering these guys are a big fucking deal, Akuaku's acting like a dad who's lost his kid in a sweet shop because the kid could smell candy floss outside of something, but then immediately caught back up with him. He's like one of those overprotective. He's basically mauling in this cutscene. He's far too overprotective for his own good. Well, that's what his voice makes to sound like. But I didn't know the Joker was a mask, but whatever. The voice cast for these guys are pretty cool, I guess, but then the whole thing gets put into play and we are thrown into the game just after this. We also get the floating head stunting as like in Crash 3 as well, but this time very underwhelming. Despite the novel voice cast, this isn't too interesting because they just say these couple of lines and they're not threatening whatsoever, so let's just breeze over this. Now, despite level 1 being an ice level, which is not one's favourite type of level, this level is fantastic. Not only is it gorgeous, but this introduces us to the prime mechanics of Crash Bandicoot. Now, even though they're the exact same as the PS1 classics, some people may not know about the series, and this could be the best possible introduction I can think of to give them, because it gives you enough time to figure out the weight of Crash and how he controls all of his extra abilities and all that other, you know, this is the best form of tutorial without anything telling you what to do. It's essentially the Green Hill Zone of this game. It's simple enough to get your head around, whilst also being a fantastic place to practice and learn the mechanics of the game, which is a really big plus on my side, because any level that can do this without giving any text tutorial whatsoever is probably the best possible way to do this. So Arctic Antics is a fantastic intro level, which also demonstrates to us the fucking fantastic music in this game, which I'll shut up so you guys can hear for a second. Great shit, on to level 2. Level 2 is a flying stage similar to those in Crash 3, but it's very, very slow in comparison to the ones that are in Crash 3. It's essentially fly around a small area whilst destroying these big objects and smashing balloons with crates so you can, you know, get the gem at the end of the level. But I'll be honest, these levels are nothing too special, and on the Xbox version of the game, these things destroy far too easily. Like, watch this. That was really fucking quick. Now, I don't know whether that's because you can't hear the sound effect, so it doesn't look like you're shooting it as much, but in the GameCube version of this, which is what I played on my channel, it takes a really long time to destroy these things, but on the Xbox version, nope, it's like the snap of your fingers like you Thanos and it's gone. But I don't know, the concept of this level isn't very, very good, to be honest. It's very slow, very annoying, and it's just one of those levels that you want to get over with as fast as possible. Now, I will give it this, despite the very, very lame skybox and also the shitty underneath of the level, which is the floor with a barn on it, which looks very, very awful. The tornado effect on underneath these big flying, whatever they are, these helicopters, I'll just call them a helicopter, I guess. It's a nice effect, and the gems and the crystals look a bit too clear for my liking on the Xbox version, but on to level 3. So level 3 has us rolling around in this big fucking ball. Now, before I can go on any further, I'd like to make a point that Kid Icarus made. Is this Crash Bandicoot or Action 50 fucking 2? Now, if you don't know what Action 52 is, it's a very old game, which I believe was for the Nintendo or the Atari, and it essentially had 52 games in it for the price of, for one big retail price of $100. $100 for 52 games in one. Sounds like a great deal, but all of those games were either really, really bad or they didn't even work at all. So Action 52 was a very, very lame game in its own mindset, but aside from that, this level is super fun. Now, I don't care if we've had one platforming level in a platformer so far, and the others being vehicle segments. The vehicles in this game don't bother me too much. It depends which one it is though. Now, I will give the ball this in the Xbox version of the game. The way it's outlined in this crystalline, like where it's really crystally, it looks really nice, and it really does help you, know where you are as you're going through this game. Because on the GameCube version, it's super, super light, and I can't tell where I am half the time, or where I'm going to land, simply because there's no shadow to it. But this level is fantastic. It's really beautiful. The atmosphere is set really good. It's just a lot of fun in general, really. It's really fucking good. On to level 4. Great shit so far. Level 4 is home to my second favourite level in the entire game, Wizards and Lizards. Now, as silly as the concept of this level may sound, Wizards and Lizards, it's a fantastic platforming level which is more of akin to Arctic Antics than anything else in this game, because it's really short and it helps you get down the basics of these sliding enemies. And this is also the first time we get to see in this game the different variations of bonus stages, as we have a sciencey themed one, a castle themed one, and the way it just alters between them is really nice. And also that can I just mention the music in this stage as well is fantastic. I'll play a snippet at the end of the clip, but can I just say as well that the bonus music is fantastic, and also how it just very smoothly transitions to it compared to the GameCube version. The GameCube version definitely has a lot of flaws, and is definitely not the version you should flock to if you want to play this game. But if it's the only system you have available at your hand, because you can't emulate it on a PC, or you don't have a PS2 or an OG Xbox, then the GameCube is definitely your only choice. Then you're not going to have a fantastic time with it, because the frame rate is very bad and everything else. It doesn't feel very right. And despite this chase sequence looking awesome, it's kind of lame, because not only does it make this level drag out for a tiny bit longer, as short as it is, it's a very, very easy chase section. And I know we're only on level 4, but you could have made this a little bit harder, I guess. But other than that, the dragon looks fucking pathetic. Like, Jesus Christ, what is this? Is this a dragon or is it a big lizard? Hang on a minute, that's what the title of the level is. But regardless to this, the shadows in this level should hover over the fiery pits, which make it harder to look where you're jumping to. But in the Xbox version, those shadows are almost non-existent, which makes this a little bit easier, which is something far beyond my liking. And that platform is bullshit, because it doesn't give you enough time to get across unless you have the Crash Dash power-up. So, level 4 is fantastic level, definitely the second best in the entire game in my opinion, with some fantastic music, which I'll give you a snippet of right now. Really, really good shit. On to level 5. Level 5 starts cool with this Indiana Jones section type opening with a minecart, but the rest of the level in comparison to this section is pretty fucking pathetic. And can I just say how fast the minecart moves in comparison to all the other versions? Like, in the Xbox version, this thing moves really fucking quickly. Now, I don't know whether that's just because the GameCube version has slowed down, and I've not played the PS2 version since I was a kid, but like, Jesus Christ, this thing moves really fucking fast. And that's just not a general misconception either. The bonus level, well, not the bonus level, but the bonus route in this level makes you feel really really fast, to the point where you have to have pinpoint perfect reaction times to avoid it to get the clear gem at the end of it. It's kind of bullshit, to be honest with you. But I'm not going to complain, it just makes it all the more fun, if not bullshitty. But after that, the rest of the level, like I mentioned, was kind of pathetic in comparison to that, because it's not as exhilarating. It's just this shitty little factory with these factory workers here doing the jobs or some shit, clearing the path of these boulders. It's not very fun. It's pretty short-lived as well. It's not the most exciting thing in the world, and the level's not that long. But all in all, it's not that bad of a platforming stage, because now we have had 3 platforming stages out of the 5 levels we've played so far, and it's pretty good so far, I'd say. But there are definitely its flaws, which again I've already pointed out, being that the minecart is super fast in the Xbox version, which is not really something ideal if you're going for the clear gem in the bonus section of the level, which is not this section but the secret section if you have the yellow coloured gem, which coloured gems do return. Jesus Christ, read, Declan, read. Anyways, my bad. Yeah, the coloured gems return in this game, because this game just copies everything from Crash 3 but gives it steroids and a line of crack. It's kind of mad, and Twitter's popping up at me already. Hey, But regardless of that, level 5 is actually really, really good. So let's move on to the first boss fight of the game. Now, before we properly begin this boss fight review thing, I would like to point out the plot is that Cortex has made another genetically modified Bandicoot, this motherfucker named Crunch, which is hella bent on snapping Crash's neck, if he even has one. That is the thing. He's basically just one big head with arms and a belly, and shorts and shoes. But yeah, this is a shit fight, I'll be honest. All it is using the ball from level 3, rolling around this odd ball shape, and hitting these ash balls to turn them blue, which will then, if you hit all of them, will combine together and hail down on Crunch as Aku basically makes him unable to escape. But then Rocco powers him back up, rinse and repeat, do it 3 times and it's over. This is a very, very bad fight. The music's pretty good, I guess, but I don't know, like, good music is a reoccurring theme in this game, I'll be honest. If you don't like this game, you cannot fault it for its soundtrack. This game's soundtrack is fantastic, and you can't deny it. I can see you in the comments already saying that this game's shit. It's my opinion, don't forget. It's an honest reviews, my opinion. As is everyone else's opinion on the internet. It's their opinion, it's not fact. And, you know, unless it's been fucking stated online that this is the worst game ever made. It's not. I've played far worse games, like Sonic Boom, for example. That's just one of them. But regardless of that, this is a shit fight. And what do we get for doing it? Sneak Shoes, the most useless power-up in the whole game and gaming in history. All it does is allow you to walk across nitro crates that are placed in midair. It's shit. So World 1 was pretty good. Let's see how it picks up in World 2, shall we? Here we also meet the next elemental mask, Wawa, which is a very, very bad name. And oddly enough, he's voiced by Ollie Ermy, the very, very well-known man who served in the Marines, I think he was. He served in the Marines for like 24 years of his life, which I can give him complete respect for that. He also did the drill sergeant in Full Metal Jacket and the Sarge in Toy Story, which is some of his notable achievements in the acting career. He also did a DLC pack for Call of Duty Ghosts, I believe. But anyways, level 6 is a beautiful jungle stage, which is more, again, akin to Arctic Antics, with its very easy platforming sections and its very good visuals to get you more used to the newer mechanics. This level has a section which allows you to get used to your new power-up, the Sneak, which, I'll be honest, you don't need to get used to it at all. It's just hold a button and then just walk, that's it. So I don't really think it was a necessary section, but hey, it's an excuse to add more boxes to the game, or the level in general, I guess. But the music, again, in this stage is really good. And to top it all off, well, not to top it off yet, but this level is something unique, because not only does it give us the next vehicle segment in the game, which let's just say this now. We're on our 6th level with one boss fight out of the way, and we've had 4 vehicle segments. This will be our 5th. So we've already spent 11/12 of our current playthrough. Oh Jesus Christ! We've currently spent 11/12 of our current playthrough in vehicles. That's why a lot of people say this game is Wrath of the Vehicles, guys. If you never caught onto that joke in the past, which is something I can definitely see. But at the same time, not much. Now, if you could sort of see that as before I jumped onto this platform, there was a Jeep. Now, yes, you're correct. There will be a Jeep section at the end of this level, which is really, really good, actually. Now, the Jeep controls, it's kind of like, actually, no, it's nothing like the bike from Crash 3. It's a lot faster, slippier, and bouncier. And here we get to see the very useless Sneak power-up placement. Now, those nitro crates were aligned so you can use the Sneak, but it's very easily jumpable. And to be honest, it's a lot quicker to do it that way as well, because no one wants to hold one button until the finger feels like it's about to fucking drop off, simply because they need to test a power up. That's not good game design, guys. Come on, get it with the program. We're on level 6 already, and I'm on 37 lives. Like, yeah, this game's far too easy. But here we have footage of the Jeep as we're being chased by rhinos this time instead of a big fucking dragon lizard thing, whatever it is. Now, this section is very, very well mapped out because you have one person guiding you through it the entire way. And the Jeep, it controls really, really fine as well, considering how bouncy it is compared to the bike in Crash 3. Now, I'd say it's even better than the bike in Crash 3, simply because it's a lot more fun, and the bike is just not fun in my opinion. It's far too stiff, and also it's not fast enough. Like, it's not really my cup of tea, to be completely fair with you. But this is just fucking fun. But when you're doing the time trial for this level, there are no Wumpa Fruit in the time trial, so trying to get around this, you need to try and memorize it, which is a bit of a pain. But at the same time, it's pretty easy to do, so don't panic about it. Level 6 is fantastic with some really good music. So far, we're off to a good start. So, admittedly, the game is really more hit than miss. But then level 7 decides to show up. This is one of the worst levels in the entire game, bar none. The water stages in Crash 3 were a nice change of pace, I'll be honest with you, because they were a lot slower, but at the same time, they was relatively fun to play. Because they weren't, they didn't force you to do stuff you didn't like. But the water stages in this game, they're fucking atrocious. Because not only is there too much vertical movement to make the stages far too difficult instead of enough horizontal movement to make it perfectly balanced, but there are these bombs that you just saw then hanging near the tube. They are so bullshitty with their placement, it's unbelievable. Because there are far too many cheap shots with them to the point where even if you touch the tiniest little clippet of it, you're dead. It's essentially like, imagine you're Mega Man and that thing's a spike. If you touch at least the bar minimum bottom corner of it, you are dead. That's how unfair they are. And then halfway through the level, you'll jump into a nice Beetle submarine, which I'll admit I didn't get the reference as a kid because I was a kid. How do you expect me to know what the fucking Beatles are? But once you're in the submarine, you'd think it'd be great fun, but absolutely not. This thing is the worst part of the entire game, in my opinion. The submarine is far from fun. It's just super slow, and then if you want to turn around to try and avoid the bomb, it's too late before you can even turn around to avoid the fucking thing because of how slow it is. All you do is inch along the entire level, spamming torpedoes and bombs, or spinning where you're actually in the water by yourself. It's, oh, hello GeForce driver. Even the driver hates this fucking thing. It's telling me to get a new driver. But regardless, with all of that fucking bullshit that the submarine brings us in its gameplay, this level is far from fun, but it's not the worst level in the entire game. But it's one of the worst. Now, what will be the worst? It comes up later on, believe me. And yes, I'll be covering the bonus levels in this episode, or should I say this video, because I believe they are worthy of, taking note of. But that section there where you saw me blow up the nitro crates to bring down these boxes is the laziest fucking placement or excuse to put more boxes in your level I've ever seen. That is just pathetic. But regardless to that, level 7 is awful with some pretty atmospheric music, I'll be honest. But other than that, the only redeeming part of it is the music, so moving on. Level 8 is a fan favourite upon many because not only do we get to play as Coco for the first time in the game, but it's also another great platforming stage. Now, I'm not a big fan of it personally, but it is, I'll admit, it's a good stage because it's structured very well, it's not too hard, it's not too easy. Coco controls very similar to Crash, but a bit more slippy in my opinion, and a lot more janky when you're trying to turn around mid-spin. That's something I've never really understood. She feels a lot clunkier than Crash. Like, if you got the control for, let's say, Super Mario Odyssey, and then it had a baby with Sonic 06, she controls like that. She controls balanced to the point where it's bearable, but kind of clunky in spots, which is, I don't know if I'm the only one that has that problem with her, but I think I am, because I've not seen anyone else mention it. So if you guys have had an issue with Coco with her, which do you think her control is a slight bit odd, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to see what you guys have experienced throughout this game and if you enjoyed it yourselves. If you've actually played it, that is. But other than that, Bonsai Bonsai is a fantastic stage with a, I don't know what theme this would be. Like, yes, it's a Chinese theme, but is there, I don't know if there's a special term for it. I'll just go with Chinese. It's a nice Chinese theme level, like a Chinese garden. It's one of those Chinese gardens that you'd see outside of a posh doctor's or something like that. So the theme of the level is really good, the music's good, everything else is great. Honestly, this is a good level, but I just can't seem to enjoy it myself. But we're going to go with it, it's a good stage, simply because it's structured well and everything else about it is fantastic. It's just me that can't bear it. So even though this is my opinion, as it's an honest review, in my perspective, I'll go with the sake of everyone else in this level because it is actually a really good level. I just can't enjoy it. So level 8 is another flying stage, but this is easily the worst in the whole game. All you do is fly around on this shitty bug thing loaded with lock-on missiles. So it's not rapid fire like the plane from last time. Instead you have to very, very slowly move around the map whilst homing onto the ships and then releasing at the very last second to send a missile at them, which takes 3 missiles, mind you, to destroy. So essentially you're looping the island if you're not going for the gem and shooting these things 3 times at a very slow rate. It's essentially a game of Battleship, but with fucking Crash Bandicoot on a flying wasp. This is Ant-Man and the Wasp early footage, guys. You're seeing this first. They're playing Battleship. This is not a fun level at all, and the music isn't even that great in my opinion. And also the sound of these fucking just missiles and things flying everywhere and the enemies kamikazing into you. It's super annoying. This level is not fun whatsoever, and it's a big thumbs down in my opinion. So level 10 starts very, very poorly in my opinion. It starts with this shitty mini submarine section, which I understand they're trying to get you used to the submarine because it will appear again later on in the game. But this section is far from good. Like, that bomb placement is stupid, and in the other versions of the game you won't be able to get rid of it. You're bound to get hit at one point in this section unless you're very, very good and you can memorize the entire level off by heart, which I am not really able to do unless I get lucky. So this section is awful. It drags on for far longer than it should do, to be honest with you, because once you get to the main level you'll realize how bad the submarine actually is. Now, what is the main level? The main level is a fucking fantastic platforming level. It's essentially half vehicle, half platformer. More like a quarter vehicle and a 3/4 platformer actually, because there's a lot more ground movement than there is vehicle movement in this stage. But the actual movement that you have on foot is a lot better than it was in Compactor Reactor, which was level 5, because this level actually requires platforming. You have to very carefully platform across these crates, across these very deadly electrocuted waters, similar to the eel deal in Crash 2. Now, this is a very clever nod if they're going for this, but can I just say how the water effects look really nice in the PS2 and Xbox version of the game, but at the GameCube, the water looks like fucking very, very see-through milk. It looks horrendous, but I'm not going to show footage for the GameCube version because I don't want to have to recapture footage just to prove a point. But if I had to just describe the difference between ports, PS2 is the best, with Xbox coming in next, simply because some of the textures look a little bit off, especially the gems and crystals, because they are see-through for some reason, which I don't understand why that would happen. But the Xbox version has better musical, like, looping abilities, and the PS2 has better vehicle balance. But I'm going to stop comparing the differences between the versions now, and I'm going to talk about the levels. There you could see there was another setup for a sneak, but with a very well-timed slide jump, you can skip it. Now that's another thing that the Wrath of Cortex does really well. If you don't want to do a certain part, if you master the game's control of the slide jump and every other feature that you'll earn later on in the game with the abilities from the bosses, Mega Man style, similar to Crash 2 and 3 again. Or should I say Crash 3 again, sorry, it didn't happen in Crash 2. I'm thinking of when you get the Crash Dash at the end of the game in the Encentrilogy edition. But similar to Crash 3, the game goes Mega Man style on you and gives you power-ups at the end of every level. Now, this is fine, yes, but the power-ups are just either recycled or you get one brand new one, which is just terrible, which is the sneak. So once you learn the game's control and master it, you're able to very, very clearly skip large chunks of the game, which is very good for speedrunners and excellent level design by Traveller's Tales, and this level was good overall. Boss 2 is actually a fucking platforming boss instead of one of these shitty fucking vehicle segmented ones, but it's a very, very easy and poor designed boss, I'll be honest with you. All you do is jump on these tiny little platforms as Crunch in this big water ass state throws these things at you. You duck under the green ones and jump over the blue ones, and when he decides to smash the platforms in rage, you just gotta be a bit quick, to be honest. And then you get the double jump, which is easily the best power up in the whole game because it's super useful and you don't freeze in midair for a second like you do in Crash 3. So the boss is shit, but the reward is good. Now we move to the domain of the Joker Mask, and I will say this now, the Gauntlet, which is level 15, no, level 11, sorry, that's my bad. This is the best level in the whole game, bar none. The platforming action is fucking fantastic in this level, and it tests your reflexes and ability to sight read the level. And also once you get really good at it, you're able to speed through this level like no problem, and it's super fun to do so. It looks nice and the music goes really, really fucking good with the level it's designed around. And you also get some really good uses out of the double jump in this level as well, so it really is a really good introduction to the power up as well as more of Crash's later abilities. And also it demonstrates how useful the double jump is in this game, because not only once you do a long jump you can jump straight after it, which is very fucking useful, but also once you can jump through the scenery, which is something that the game will teach you not to do, but once you learn how to do it sneakily, you'll be able to master it and then speed through this game no problem. So what is the huge deal about this level, which I buzz over it so much? The design and how it introduces us the castle theme once again. So the castle theme was started in Wizards and Lizards, obviously, but this version of the castle theme, holy shit, is it great! Oh, sorry, my mouth just gets really dry when I talk for a long period of time. I'm still ill, but Jesus Christ, this really demonstrates the usefulness of the double jump and spin, as you could see there. If you're able to double jump off of a box and then spin right after it, you can get some serious destruction done to the boxes, and also speed through it without having to, you know, carefully nudge through a box. It's fantastic, and this section really tests your sight reading abilities, whether you should run around, slide, or jump over. Now these things here, looks like you have to slide under them, but if you're careful enough, you can just run straight past, or you can just slide under like you're intended to. But there you can see more good use of the double jump come into play. The double jump is really put into play this level, and right there as well with the slide jump. Once you perfect the slide jump, you're able to perfect any level and just breeze through it. This game, you'll have easily 99 lives before Domain 4, which is something that the game does very poorly, extra lives. Now, is it good that it gives you extra lives more? Yes, because it is good for new players. But at the same time, for the Crash veterans, it's far too fucking easy for them, and it just really gets on your nerves to get constant extra lives when you don't need them, to be completely honest with you. And also, this is one of the first, actually not the third instance of a death route in the game, which gives you the coloured gems. Now, the coloured gems in this game, there are 5 of them, and they are spread out during these gauntlets, which the name of the level very much refers to this more than it does the actual level, to be fair with you. They are tough platforming challenges which give you a coloured gem in reward, which allow you to access extra areas of the game. And are these implemented well? Yes. Is this one implemented well? Fucking yes. That's another great thing about the Gauntlet. It's a fantastic level with also a very fantastic death route, because it not only does it really show you what the level themes in this game can do for you and the game itself in its performance, it also allows you to experience going back and forth between the start of the death route or very cleverly suiciding to get back to the main level to grab all three, to grab both gems and the crystal in the same time, which is very smart in my opinion. Now, the level emphasized by this later on isn't as good, definitely not, but the Gauntlet is a fucking fantastic stage. Level 12 is a stage that's also loved by a lot of people, not just because it's core, but because not only does it include a vehicle section that's actually good in their opinion, but also the platforming section beforehand is really good, and so is the optional coloured gem path. Now, if I have to give my opinions on this level, it's fucking awful. Now, why do I think this? The platforming is very bland, and also as well, which I just have to mention this because this does get on my nerves. The Aku invincibility in this game, not only does it not use the same song, which I don't mind, I actually quite like this new invincibility song, it lasts not as long, definitely not. The old invincibility lasted like 30 seconds, this one lasts 15 seconds. So it's half the time, and you don't even run as fast, which is what the mask is intended to do. That's why the sections when you get the mask feel very dragged out, because you're supposed to be running faster. That's what they didn't implement into the game, like it was rushed, which is something that also deters people from playing the game and beating it 100%. Now, I can understand why this deters them from doing this, but at the same time, it's easily, like, it's passable for me. I can get over it, but at the same time, I can't. Now, here comes the vehicle section, which is a scooter. You're being chased by a tsunami, and on these very thin platforms of another Chinese city. And is this section good? No, not at all. Because not only are you running towards the camera, which is something that wasn't really done great in Crash games in my opinion in the past. How was I supposed to see the extra life box on the right side of my screen then? Like, there's no indication where to go in this section, and these vehicles come out of fucking nowhere, and their hitboxes can be really screwed up sometimes, to the point where you could lose a life from them, or an Aku mask, and it's not even your fault. And then, yep, just close the door, that'll get rid of the tsunami, definitely. Now, there is a coloured gem section here, which you get the gem from Arctic Antics, the first level, because that level actually has a death route, which I forgot to mention. But this is a very tough section, because it's very precise platforming, and also it requires very good, well, not only precision, but thought. It requires a good thought process. Why? I'll tell you why. Because if you decide to come into this section and hit the green nitro crate, which destroys all of the nitros beforehand, you cannot beat this section, because these boxes are bouncing on nitro crates. Why is this a bad thing? because those boxes are going to be destroyed. And not only do you have to be very precise when doing this section, but also as well, if you jump far too early, you'll get hit by the nitro crate. If you jump too late, you'll go over. So it's stupidly precise, but it is a very good challenge indeed, I'll admit. And that's another clever way of getting all three. So it's well designed, but it's not executed well in my opinion. Level 13 is a race stage, similar to the bikes in Crash 3, but this time it uses the much more bouncy, slippery and fun Jeep from the jungle level, as mentioned earlier. Now, this is probably the best racing we've had in a Crash platformer that isn't a racing game, because obviously we have our Crash racing games, Crash Team Racing, Nitro Kart and Tag Team Racing. Now, why is this the best? I'll explain. The track isn't too long, it's fair, it's fun, the enemies aren't broken and get in your way, constantly cock blocking you, simply because the vehicles are the exact same size as yours, which is something that was far unbalanced in Crash 3, because their vehicles were so much bigger than yours, and they were so much beefier as well, so they could always get in your way and fuck you over when you're about to win. Now that was something that really pissed me off about those stages, and also the bike isn't fun, it's far too slow and stiff as I mentioned earlier. This is super slippy fun, and it's constantly drifting. And those boost pads, they're great fun as well. This is a this is how you do a race stage in a platform, right, in my opinion. This is fantastic. I mean, there are a couple of cheap shots with the camera not focusing on those holes, but hey, what can I say? It's a fantastic stage, and I'm not going to criticize it. So level 14 is a snow level in a fire world. Yes, I know. It's kind of strange how they organize the levels in this game. Now, I know it would have been frustrating to be in level 1 and constantly have all the jungle levels thrown at you when they weren't designed around the current ability you had, but at the same time, why would you put a fire level inside of a water world or a snow level in a fire world? It doesn't really make sense. But the only reason they do this is because now that you have more abilities in the game and you've already learnt the basics of these vehicles and the control of the game, you can now progress through these, which are it's much more complicated, and it takes a lot more skill and precision than the other stages do. So I kind of applaud them for doing that, because it's kind of clever actually. But at the same time, it doesn't make too much sense, I'll be honest. But the box placement in this level, it's not the greatest thing I've ever seen. It's kind of bullshit, and this is also the level which infamously made me call Dingo Dial Tiny Tiger and Tiny Tiger Dingo Dial. It was pretty shocking how I got those confused, but it made for a pretty hilarious moment in my opinion anyways. I just find myself far too funny for my own fucking good. But this is it's an alright stage, I guess. I mean, yes, it's very cheap with its difficulty at times, especially in this section with the moving platforms. It can be stupidly bullshit. But this section here, with the the section after this, which has the tubes and the ice, there's a pad that it's hard to explain. Right. So these tubes have a booster in front of them, which allow you to go flying through them, which is what you're intended to do. But in the GameCube version, there is no noise to it. You're supposed to hear a big rev, like you're revving a car engine. It's a good laugh to do it as well. But the GameCube version just makes that excitement just go down the drain. It's not fun at all in that version. The GameCube version is just bad, is what I'm trying to say. But this is an alright stage, I guess. It's nothing special. Level 15 is home to one of my favourite stages in the whole game. Now, as many people do not like this stage and criticise it, I like this stage a lot. I do not like the first part of it though, with the jetpack. It's pretty bad. Now, why do I not like the jetpack in this game? Well, it's a lot better than it is in Crash 2, I'll give it that, but the control to go up and down is inverted. Yes. To go up, you press down, and to go down, you press up. Now, this is something that 6th generation console games did a lot when they had a flying section for some reason. I have no idea why. Some games still do it now, but I don't know. In Crash 3, it was up to go up and down to go down, which really threw me off. But at the same time, like, it controls perfectly fine for what it is, but the input is kind of confusing at times. That's all I have to complain. But once you finish this section, similar to H2O No level 10 from earlier, you begin the main section of the, this is something I've noticed just now actually. The first 3 sections, I can't remember if this happens in the next sections as well. It definitely doesn't in the final level, level 25, or the main levels anyway. But I can't remember if it does this in level 20. But these stages start in a vehicles section, and then they are platformers throughout the rest of it, which is kind of weird actually, now that I've noticed that continuity. But it's kind of cool, I guess, because it's very well disguised. to be a platformer stage. Which this stage, when it comes to its platforming value, is fantastic. It's very good platforming action, similar to the Gauntlet and Compactor Reactor. It's basically the theme of the Gauntlet mixed with the theme of Compactor Reactor. It's very, very good. And also, we have this very, very cool reference later on in the stage to Total Recall, which is where you run through this, like, I don't know what it is. You run through this corridor and you turn into a skeleton while you travel through the rest of it. It's really fucking cool. There are also these boxes in the stage which allow you to essentially become invisible, and you can go through certain objects, and that was another example of skipping a slide section with a very, very clever use of Aku Aku masks. Now, that is something you can do a lot in this game. You can very, very easily use your Aku Aku masks to take a hit and manipulate skipping certain sections of the game to do so. Which, yes, it's good for a speed run, but for a new player, they wouldn't think to do that because they see their life as valuable in this game, and they do not want to waste any Aku Akus because they want to get through it. So, something for the Crash veterans, which I find really, really clever. But this is the section I'm talking about. It's really fucking cool how they do this, and the way the colours just get inverted. But the one thing that really bugs me is that the enemy did not get a skeleton either, which is just lazy. But the music in this stage, this is one of my favourite tracks in the whole game. It's so fucking good. I'll play a snippet now. It's so good, honestly. This level is really good, but if you remove the jetpack and replaced it for more platforming instead, this stage would have been one of the best in the game, if not the best, in my opinion. Moving on to boss 3 now, and it's alright, I guess. It's not the best thing I've ever played. I mean, yeah, I've played far better bosses, but up to now, this is the best boss we've played. Because, for one, it's not in a shitty vehicle, and it's not a shitty platformer either. It's a simple run back and forward, get in a suit, spray a crunch with water, rinse and repeat, and you're done. And the difficulty definitely does increase. I have very, very easily noticed that. But at the same time, like, the premise for it is, it's simple. It's simple, but it works. You can't run into Crunch because of the firewall he's pushing towards you. He's also throwing smoldering rocks at you, which will burn you to a crisp if you touch them. Now, why is this an issue? Because once you spray him for the first time after he runs away, which he runs away at quite a fast rate, by the way, which is something you should not do. You should never just hold the spray button for the water, because when you spray it slows you down. So only spray when you're right next to him. But watch closely. Now he will drop these cindering balls of ashes. Why is this unfair? Because if you're trying to chase him down and you're right behind him ready to spray, he could just drop these fuckers and you're dead on an instant, because you cannot take Aku Aku into these bosses. Which, yes, balances them out, but at the same time, that's very fucking bullshit, because you will not see that coming. And now, these balls split into two, which is kind of unfair, because sometimes they don't, which makes you want to jump or slide jump or whatever over them, and it really throws you off sometimes, because they just go wherever the fuck they want to go. But other than that, it's a very simple boss. And what do we get after we complete this boss? Well, we get the Death Tornado Spin. Now, is it as good combined with the double jump as it was in Crash 3? No, it was not. Because simply there are not enough platforming shortcuts to take with it. Now, is it still a good power-up? Yes, it's still really useful, especially in the water, but it's not got as many uses as it did in Crash 3, which is ultimately disappointing as a power-up. But other than that, so far we're halfway through the game, and it's been pretty good. By pretty good, I mean really good. Moving on to the snow domain now, and this is easily the worst set of levels in the whole fucking game. Now, we start with this level called Avalanche. A lot of people say this is a pretty good level and that it's one worthy of, being notified about when listening to a review. I don't like this level, I'm sorry, I just can't bear with it. Because not only on GameCube does the frame rate shit itself to a halt where it's at 15 frames a second when you play this level for the first, minute of it. It's just not designed well at all, in my opinion. It's simple, run forward, kill a couple of penguins, jump on a couple of platforms, do that a few times, go down a shitty ice slide which controls like fucking shit, because the ice physics in this game, whilst they are really good when you're going in a straight line, going downhill you cannot control yourself, which defeats the fucking purpose of being on ice. You're supposed to be able to control yourself, but not very good. If that makes a bit of sense. It probably didn't, but you get what I mean. It's not fun. This level is the opposite of fun. It's boring. It's simple, wait for TNT, jump over nitros, go in a straight line. Now, at the end of the level, you do have a snowboarding section, which you're being chased by an avalanche, as the level's title suggests to you. Is this a good section of the level? No, it's one of the worst. Why? You cannot see what's ahead of you. Now, there aren't any threats in this section apart from a nitro crate, just one. But it's out of your way and you will not get killed by it. But why is this bad? Because there is a hidden challenge to where if you slide through all 22 flagpoles without missing a single one of them in order, you get a clear gem. Why is this an issue? Because if you want 106% the game or 100% it in general, you need all the gems. This is required. Now, why is this bad? It's bullshit. For the simple reason you cannot see where the fucking flagpoles are. This next bit of gameplay is going to showcase this, and I just watch what I mean when I say it's complete and utter bullshit. You do not know where these flags are going to come from. Now, these first couple of flags, are, yeah, you're guided by a Wumpa fruit to them, so it's not all that bad. But after flag number 9, when you have to go to flag number 10, oh my god, I've fucked this run up so many times because of it. Look at that. It gives you no indication to swerve all the way off to the left from the right side of the screen. It's a lot of shit and a lot of wank, and it should never be taught on! Okay, that's enough ranting about that stage. Let's move on to level 22. Now, wait, did I say 22? Shit, yeah, I did, didn't I? Fuck me. Sorry, level 17. Droid Void. Now, look at this. Yeah, the monkey bars return in this game, which you think, oh yeah, this is going to be great fun. We got the monkey bars again. Why did you do this, Traveller's Tales? Now, I understand why they may have done this, because one, these levels are supposed to be very stretched out compared to the ones in Crash 3, and they didn't want to borrow exactly everything. But if you're going to implement the monkey bars, do not make them this slow. Yes, it wasn't realistic to make him go super fast in the last game, but now he's just going far too fucking slow, and you can't use the Crash Dash power up to speed yourself up a little bit. And when you spin, like the last game, you stop in your tracks, and the depth perception in this game makes it almost impossible to jump onto the bars precisely. Why? Because when it looks like you're on the bars, you press X again in hesitation, which makes you jump off. Now, why is this an issue? Because once you're on the bars, if you jump off, you're dead half the time. And also, why is it an issue? Because you can't tell. It's poorly designed. Now, this wouldn't bother me a whole bunch if the bar structures was good, but in some places you have to be on the very edge to get to the platform that you want to go to, and it just takes fucking forever half the time. This wouldn't be a bad thing, again, but the bars are super slow, and half the time you can't even tell if you're going to land on the bars or not. So you hesitate and attempt to double jump on them, which makes you jump off them. It's not fun. This section reeks. I'll be honest. You get given a power loader from Aliens. Now you think this is going to be a lot of fun because, oh yeah, it's an Aliens reference, but nope. Instead of being able to do cool fist combos, you have to run around slowly. Actually, it's not that slow, to be honest. It's roughly the same speed as Crash, but it feels a lot slower, and it's definitely a lot weightier. You have to run and jump to actually get momentum on a jump, because if you stand still and jump, you're going to do this shitty little swing animation where you swing your arms above your head to jump and you go fucking nowhere. Now, something else to a flaw. If you want to kill enemies without an invincible Waku Waku, you have to stand still and painlessly aim at them. Now, I say painlessly because it doesn't cause any harm, but it slows the level down to a halt, especially in sections where you need to speedrun for a coloured, not a coloured, sorry, but a platinum relic. I couldn't get the word out of my head. To speedrun for a platinum relic, and most of the time you just can't do it. It's not fun at all. So far we've got 2 shitty levels. I wonder what the next level's going to do to impress me. I'll tell you what it does. Fuck all! A lot of people say this is the best flight stage in the whole game, considering there's 3 of them. I think the first one's the best one. I'll be honest with you guys. I hate this stage. It's far too lengthy for its own good, and it's far too fucking difficult. You have to fly around in this space environment with meteorites that can hit you and cause damage, with enemies constantly shooting you with these really powerful guns that are rapid fire, mind you, and they will kamikaze into you half the time. Now, before you can attack the space stations that are spread around, you have to destroy these things that are in front of it. Why? Because Cortex actually uses brain and give them defense systems, which I guess is kind of neat as a detail, thinking of it in a plot-wise, but this isn't a plot level, guys. It's just a level. And compared to the engine boss that's in Crash 3, which looks fucking beautiful with its space environment, this looks like shit. It's just a very lazy skybox that anyone could make in, let's say, like Geometry Dash, and make it look 20 times better. We've got 3 bad levels up to now in the 4th section of the game, we're far into the game and we are not learning from our mistakes from the previous sections, which is bad, because this part of the game gives it a bad rep, simply because the levels aren't fun or interesting in any shape or form. So far we've got 3 bad levels. What is the next level going to do? Jiminy fucking Christmas. This is the worst level in the whole game. Why? The entire stage is spent in water. Yes, it's a water stage. Why is this not fun? Because one, you start with a submarine and it lasts for 50% of the level. 55% actually. If that's what it feels like. You're in this thing for 55% of the level, and this section is fucking AIDS. Because not only do you have to very slowly inch along, avoiding these bombs, spamming torpedoes and dropping bombs, but also you can collide with the level at times where it looks like you can't. So that's another bad flaw in the level design. It looks ugly. The movement in the stage is bad. It looks so barren as well. Like, seriously, come on guys, could you put a bit of effort? The enemy placements of the jellyfish and everything else is just bullshit, and half the time you're gonna find yourself dead due to you trying to speed through the sections of the level you've already done, and very, very painfully going through it in a slow pace because you want to finish it, but you can't go fast because you're going to die unless you memorize the entire stage, which is a lot of shit. I don't want to talk about it anymore. Moving on. So level 20 stops trying to piss me off, and it actually gives us a good platforming stage. Now, this is similar to Wizards and Lizards in its structure, I think, because not only does it combine the theme of Compact Reactor yet again, but also it's a short level with some fun design and good shortcuts to take. Now, there is no chase sequence like in Wizards and Lizards. I think Wizards and Lizards is the only platforming level with its chase sequence in it, which is kind of disappointing, really. I mean, yeah, there aren't meant to be many chess sequences in these games, but another one would have been nice, because it's kind of cool to see a chess sequence in a game like this in general, because not only is it not fit for its theme half the time if it's not executed well, but in the Crash games they are, and it's a shame to not see one. But you have another monkey bar section, which the developers knew were hell, so they added in these steel crates underneath, so you could jump on and do a slide jump off of to get more ground. Now, this is a nice little inclusion of shortcutting, because it's completely optional. You can take the safer route, or you can risk it like that to take a shortcut, which if you're doing the time trial you can't, because that platform won't be there. So if you're going to make that jump, it's down to complete chance. So if you want to take that chance and that risk, because it's not always going to guarantee you a win, then you have to be very, very careful with what you're doing, to be fair. And this here is another example of skipping the sneak jump. Not the sneak jump, sorry, the sneak. There's a lot of platforming shortcuts to take in this game, which is something I can applaud, because not many games of its time did that were actually platformers, for say. It's very unique in some aspects. Not only are those aspects lame sometimes, but they're also pretty fucking good. I'll be honest, when this game does something bad, it does it terribly. But when it does something good, it does it fantastically. When does it do something bad? Only in this section of the game. Let's split the game up into 6 parts. You've got the intro, the water, the fire, the ice, the void, and the bonus. The only bad part of that is the 4th, with some exceptions with certain levels in the other parts, but that's it really. This level is the only good level in the 4th section, because it actually has effort put into it, and it's a good platforming affair, with also using this invisibility gimmick from the previous level 15 Fahrenheit Frenzy. This section's completely unfair as well, because even if you touch the blades while they're not spinning, you're going to take a hit. And these Naruto crits are in such fucking stupid points to the point where you're going to get hit eventually. It's not much fun, but I'll be honest with you, it's a good level bar none. Now, boss 4 is obviously an engine ripoff from Crash 3, because not only is it boss 4 again, but this is bad. This is super slow. What you have to do is you have to wait for Crunch to make his move, and once he's attacking, you have to shoot the part where he's attacking from, whether that be his hands or his face or his entire body. Now, why is this bad? It takes forever, and the attack pattern isn't random. It's a simple 4 attack loop. That is it. And let me repeat that in the most boring way I can say it. That is it. This is all the boss is. Go straight forward for Crunch, shoot him when he's attacking, and make sure not to get hit, because if you get hit in certain spots, he will do a lot of he will do a lot of damage to you, and it's really unfair at times, to the point where you can't even dodge an attack because you're trying to shoot him and the plane is far too up the camera so you can even see. So this is a terrible boss fight. It's not as bad as boss 1 or 2 though. This is probably the third boss. Well, there's 5 bosses in the game. This is the third best one probably, simply because it's got a nice idea going for it. It wasn't executed all that well, but at the same time it's still more bearable than boss 1 or 2. So what power up do we get from this? We get the bazooka. Now that is expected because we need the bazooka for the final boss and also the rest of the levels, but it just doesn't feel needed in this game, and I'll explain why in a moment. Now we move on to the final section of the game, the Void, if you're not counting the bonus levels. Now in this level here, level 21, I think it's called Crash and Burn. This is the second best level in the entire game. Why? Because not only is it super fun, but it's got a great soundtrack to accompany the level theme, and it looks gorgeous. It's pivoting with difficulty as well, because trying to take platforming shortcuts in this level is a lot riskier, because there's one hit kill lava all over the place, which is very difficult to avoid, especially when your drop shadow in this game is super precise. So if you want to get a good jump in this level, you have to time it perfectly and make sure you are at the right angle and at the peak of your jump. This stage is not easy, it's not simple, and it's not complicated either. It's the perfect balance of difficult and easy. It's in the middle, it looks fine, and everything else about this level is just fantastic. It's not as good as the Gauntlet because it's not as fun, I don't think, because it's a lot longer, and also there's not as many shortcuts to take as there is in the Gauntlet, which allow you to, you know, perfect your abilities of the game even more. But at the same time, it does offer quite a large variety of that, which I can applaud it for, because not only does it allow you to time your speedrunning skills, especially with those crates that appear out of nowhere because you have to hit the switch for it. It really does allow you to take advantage of the double jump as well. It's a fantastic stage, but nonetheless, and shouldn't be oversighted. And it's also where you get the red gem, and the red gem challenge is just far too easy though, so I can't give it that big of a boost. The next level, Gold Rush, is a lot of people's favourite level in the entire game, but I'd say it's probably the 4th best, because the level feels like it goes on for too long in my opinion. Yes, the music is great, but the level looks far too outdated. Like, considering the graphical leap, this game doesn't do a whole lot in terms of for its status. Let me speak. The game doesn't do a whole lot to boost its status graphically. It doesn't look that great, I'll be honest with you. But when it looks good, it looks really good. That's another thing tying back to a previous point. When the game does something good, it does it really good. When it does it bad, it does it pretty bad. Now, why is this an issue for the Wrath of Cortex? Because this makes a lot of people dislike it, because they focus too much on the bad areas of a game these days than on the good areas, which is something that I really hate about people that play games. They criticize it for its badness and not everything that's good about it, which this game is seriously overlooked in terms of that. Because yes, while there is a lot bad about it, there's also a shit ton good about it, which not a lot of people look at. They don't look at all of the positives of the game, which is something that makes them dislike it a lot more than they really should do. Which is, it really bothers me, because as this is my favourite Crash game of all time, not only because it was my first Crash game of all time and it's nostalgia talking, but also because I just have fun with it all the time. It's so fun, and I just can't get enough of it. But anyway, back to Gold Rush. It's a very long stage. It introduces to us a manual minecart, which you have to press buttons to make go faster. It brings back two monkey bar sections, which are very bad. It uses poor implementation of Aku Aku, and also the Colour Gem challenge is a little bit too easy, if not sometimes a bit unfair. So Gold Rush is an okay level, but it can be really good once you get it down. Now, the next stage is Medieval Madness, and this stage was butchered in the GameCube and Xbox version, because it uses the same music from the Gauntlet. Now, this isn't necessarily a bad thing, because it's a good song, but the main music that should accompany this level fits it far better, and it's just a lot better of a tune in my opinion, with the brass instruments really kicking in. Now, is this a good level? No. This is not the best ball section in the entire game by far. It's probably the worst. But I'll be honest, the ball levels aren't that bad in this game. They're managed really well, and they are pulled off pretty good as well, simply because of how fun the ball is and how easy it is to control. Now, does this mean this level gets more extra credit? No, it does not. This is not really a good level by any means, because not only is it more of a maze than it is an actual level, it just doesn't look interesting at all. It just looks super bland but you're just inside of an ugly castle with a lot of hay everywhere. It's not interesting of a concept at all. And the final section can just go and blow me, because the checkered board maze is no fun at all. So if we calculate everything that's gone on in this level, we've got bullshit boxes, a very, very poor implementation of a backdrop, recycled music in 2 versions of the 3 that are available, and also not a very good graphical style to it. So this is a very, very poor level in terms of its reputation, but it can be kind of fun, I'll admit. So the section at the end where you're going down that big tube, it is fun, but it doesn't go on for long enough, and also you can fall out of it when you first get in it, which happened to me on my playthrough, which really fucking pissed me off, considering I was playing that level for about 30 minutes trying to get my head around it. So yeah, that kind of pissed me off, but other than that, it's a mediocre stage at best. This is another awful stage in my opinion. That it has more monkey ball gameplay at the start, but instead of going away from the camera, you go towards it, which is this a good thing? Yes, because it uses more of a platforming sense for this move. But again, it's not implemented well in my opinion. It's not fun to do at all, and also the perspective, you don't know when to drop if you want to get a good time. And I did not do that in my playthrough, because I actually did not know that was an available shortcut at first. But once I learned it was, I've been using it ever since. But again, it's not a fun level. It's not balanced in its perception at all, and it's not fun, because towards the end of the level you have a chase sequence with the power loader. Why is this bad? If you stop for a second and try and jump, you're dead instantly. Now that makes a really good use. This level makes a good use of the bazooka at times, so I'll give it that, because not only does it make you think about where to go if you want to take a shortcut, but also it allows you to skip sneak sections, which is always a plus because the sneak is bad. But the rest of the level is very, very mediocre. It's not a fun level whatsoever. Now we move on to the final level in the mainstream of things, Cortex Vortex. Now, this level is the hardest game in the level by far. Why? Because this level is the ultimate skill test. It puts all of your abilities into one and sees how you can use them to work your way around the stage. Now, the stage is good platforming action with some very tricky timings, but the hitboxes can be a little bit screwed up in some places, which really gives it a bit of an unfair difficulty boost sometimes. But it really teaches you where to use your bazooka and how fast to use it, which also adds a sense of panic. It teaches you the double jump is very, very, very useful with the death tornado spin combined in certain situations, especially with these fucking things, because they are just broken in terms of its hitbox. You can't really see past these things, so trying to get around them can be a bit of a pain. The enemies are placed in very tricky spots, so you can't always go to the edge of a block and try and jump off of it, because it will not work. The stage is very well designed, especially with its platforming shortcuts that you can take as well. There's a lot of them, and also if you want to completely complete the level by getting the coloured gem to go with it, you have to get every coloured gem possible to access the area, because you cannot beat this section without every coloured gem, because you can't access it. But other than that, like, the music's fantastic. It's a good challenge. It's just a fantastic level overall, especially with its design. The level does have its flaws, definitely, especially during this part, because it's very, very bullshitty. But other than that, it's a good balance of difficulty and when to use what and, you know, what not to use. It's a really, really good level. I wouldn't call it fantastic or brilliant. I just say it's really good. Now we have the final boss of the whole game, Crunch himself in the flesh. Now it's advertised as Cortex, as you can see on the right side of the screen, as it's got Cortex there with a health bar. But yes, while you technically do attack Cortex to bring down the health of the boss, you are shooting Crunch, which is something that's confused me for a while now. I've been playing this game all my life, and I still don't understand this. You shoot Crunch, which inevitably pisses him off to attack Cortex for not protecting him, but you attack Cortex and it does damage to him. So who are you defeating? Are you defeating Cortex and Crunch, or are you defeating just Cortex? I don't really get it, but I've played better bosses in my time, yes, 100%, but this is definitely the best boss in the entire game, simply because it combines all of your abilities into one and all of your skill and knowledge of the game into one as well. And while it uses all of the elementals' powers really well, because you not only have to avoid the rocks from boss 1, the ice from... Hang on, that's just got me thinking. If the if the winter mask is the ice one, why does the water one give out ice? I mean, yeah, they probably couldn't have thought of a better way to use the water one, but it's a little confusing. The fire one tries to incinerate you, obviously, and then the ice one tries to zap you with these ice lasers, which don't freeze you, they just kill you on the spot. But regardless to that, it's a good final boss. It's bearable. It's got good music to it. It's just a good time all around, in my opinion. It's a good final boss, and it can be cheesed in many areas though, which makes it a bit too easy. So that's the main game. Now we do have the bonus levels, which I'm going to quickly go over now by giving a brief. I'm going to give a brief sentence about them. But other than that, the main game is really good. It's got its flaws, definitely 100%, but at the same time, it's very, very good. This game should not be overlooked, but we can't give a full, review on it without reviewing the bonus stages. So let's very, very quickly go over the bonus stages. Before I do mention the bonus stages, I forgot about this. You get the Crash Dash after the final boss to get the relics, which allow you to get the relics in a faster time to get all the platinum relics if you want to do that. And the time trials in this game, they're a lot of fun. The Crash Dash is really, really useful in multiple places, especially if you want to go back to the levels to speed through them a lot faster, blah, blah, blah. The same as Crash 3, it's really fucking good, and it should not be overlooked. Okay, moving on to the bonus area. Now, once you have 5 relics, you can access this area, but you have to have all the relics for every level to unlock it. You just need them of any colour, it doesn't really matter. So the first level, nighttime, it's essentially the gauntlet but shitty. That's all it is. And also, if you revisit Bonsai, you get the super secret ultra belly flop, because you're able to use the red gem to go back through the level and to get the clear gem, which also gives you the ultra belly flop. Now, is this level good? No, not at all. This is basically the gauntlet but made a bit harder because you can't see shit, and also some bullshitty enemy placements, and you use Coco. It's not a fun level whatsoever, and it's a very, very poor use of the best level in the game. So the next level is a very shitty minecart race with Crunch. Now, the reason why this is bad is because you don't have to touch anything to win. I'm not kidding. If you want to win this, you don't even have to press anything. And this is where also the Xbox's issue of the minecart being far too fast is an issue. Because it's very difficult to control the minecart in this stage on the Xbox. Because not only is it too fast, but you have to have lightning fast reaction speeds to be able to get all the boxes and also, everything else. Now, the level does test your intelligence though, because you have to go certain routes to grab all the boxes if you want to do that. Which I'm more than sure you will want to do that, because it's a Crash game, you want to get all the boxes, blah blah blah. So if you want to do that, you have to very intelligently plan out your route, because you have to go certain ways at certain times if you want to get all the boxes. Now this is a very clever thing done by Traveller's Tales, in my opinion, because it's not a simple minecart race. I mean, yeah, if you want to get the other gem, you have to come first place, and if you want to get the relic for the time trial, you have to come first place as well. But the level's very, very cleverly panned out, and also it's not very fun. But at the same time, it's an okay race level. I'll give it that. It's not the best thing I've ever played. It's not the worst either. So it's passable. So the next level, Ice Station Bandicoot. Where do I begin? This level can kiss my ass. Now, not in a good way either. This is a shit level. It's one of the worst in the whole game, because you have to race this polar bear on a magic carpet like he's a white Aladdin, and in the process you have to spin these balloons and also go through these rings on the shitty jetpack, as per mentioned before, with its inverted controls. Now, because the controls are inverted, it's very trippy when going through the ring, because you don't know whether or not to hold up and left or up and right. But to go up or down, and swerve to the down left, and also you don't go down fast enough, so you have to go really early or just brake midway, which isn't something you should have to do. It's very bullshit. To get the boxes, it's not hard at all, but it slows you down a bit unless you hit the balloon part. So it's a very bad level, and it's not even. And even if you spin while you're going through the rings, you don't go faster, which is something that you had to strategize about in the Crash 3 version of this, where you had to race against 4 pilots. Now, that's another thing. You only race one thing. Now, yes, well, it's a very big and beefy polar bear that you can't go past it normally, and you have to, very skillfully go around. It's not fun, it's just bad. Now, I don't know if I've already mentioned my favourite ball stage or not, by saying this is the best, but if I have, I'm sorry, I take it back. I forgot about this level. Solar Bowler is the best ball level in the game. Why? It's got some very awesome club music in the background, which is using the game's credits as well. It looks beautiful because not only is the attention to detail on the platforms really good, the design on Crash's Ball really shines here. The skybox is pretty good as well, and also it's a maze level similar to the Medieval Madness, but it's got better music and better set pieces, and also it's a very, 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 very good planned out maze, because not only does it have platforms that move to try and throw you off, but these tubes that give shortcuts for tremendous boosts in time trials as well. But to get all the boxes, you have to plot your route similar to what you have to do in the minecart race. You have to go down certain platforms and go all the way around to grab the boxes. Now, this isn't a bad thing either with the maze aspect of the level, because it's a very clever maze. It's not like a lazy one that's just there for the sake of being there to add cheap difficulty. No, it's actually fun. It's a fun level. Not only is it because it looks good and the ball controls fantastically, but the music adds to the atmosphere as well. Like, honest to God, this level is one of the best in the game, if I dare say that, actually. I'm not too sure on that yet, because I'm not a big fan of the level, but it's fantastic. Moving on to the very last level in the entire game. This level can also kiss my ass. It's not fun whatsoever. All you do is you're on this snowboard for the whole level, going across this very, very bland looking ice area, I guess you could call it, and it's just pants. Like, it's not planned out well. The Wumpa Fruit don't guide you very well either, because half the time they do, half the time they don't. The mammoths have no purpose. The nitro crates are very lazily placed, as well as the enemies are, and the music's far too overdramatic for the situation, and the blizzard noise in the background just really gets on your nerves after a while. So overall, this stage is shit, and the bonus levels are pretty shit apart from Solar Bowler. So now that I've said everything I want to say about the game, I will admit the game isn't as good as I always used to think it was upon a revisit, but it's still one of my favourite games of all time, and it is still the best Crash Bandicoot game in my opinion. Despite how lazy the game looks in some places and how lazy it can actually be, especially with its cliche true ending of the "Hey, this nice artist didn't have control over me anymore." It's very poorly executed, this final cutscene, I'll be honest with you. And also, for some reason on the Xbox, Crash's fur actually looks like fur. It doesn't look right at all. He looks far too fuzzy. I mean, yeah, it's attention to detail, I guess, but I don't know, I'm not a fan. Why is my taskbar appearing? Go away. Oh, because of a scheduled update. I get you. 1 minute. Yeah, anyways, so the ending to the game is satisfying for what you have to go through to get the 106% ending, because now we see Crunch become a part of the Bandicoot family, and this ending also leads us on to the next game, Crash to Insanity, which more people actually do believe to be the better game out of the two. But I believe the Wrath of Cortex is better, with Crash to Insanity following up behind it very closely, actually, because Twin Insanity is a fantastic game upon revisiting it, but I wouldn't call it absolutely brilliant like I would call this game. But regardless to that, the Wrath of Cortex is a very, very underrated title in the Crash Bandicoot franchise, and if I have to give it my final score of an honest review, I would give it a solid 9.5 out of 10, because whenever it does it really good, and it just makes the game super fun. Despite all of its faults as well, they are definitely passable faults to the point where it doesn't make the game any less enjoyable. So, thank you for watching my honest reviews on the Wrath of Cortex. I really do hope you enjoy. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think as well of this game, if you enjoyed it as much as I did or whatnot. And if you did, be sure to let me know. I'm curious to hear your guys' opinions. But other than that, thank you for watching this honest reviews. I nearly said opinion view. This honest reviews. And I will see you all in the next video of mine, whenever that may be. Peace out, take care.